Good morning, everyone. Thrilled to have all of you today. My name is Subhash, and I'm a data science instructor from Forward College. So I've been teaching data science for a couple of years now, and I'm currently and for today, what I want to do is I'm excited to share to share with you a structural analysis of a Netflix content strategy, exploring how their library has evolved over the years and what trends can we discern from their expensive data sets. So to give you an overview of the methodology approach, I'm just going to start with first by cleaning the data set and then followed by exploratory data analysis to understand the distribution of the content types and of course the production trends, genre popularities and other factors. So by end of this webinar, right, you'll gain insights into Netflix content distribution, their growth of library and shifts into content production over the years and the strategic implication of the content choices. So let's dive into it now. Without further ado. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay. Okay, share screen. Okay, just nice. Okay, first of all, we're gonna start importing few libraries. So the libraries I'll be using today is basically pandas. Import pandas. This is basically a tablet data frame library, which we can do a lot of cleaning and everything involved. And then next will be matplotlib, which is a visualization tool or library, you can say, which will be really useful. The next will be another visualization library, import cbond. Nice. Okay, so these are three libraries we'll be doing. So if I require, then I'll be adding the libraries later on. So these are the main three. Okay, let it load first. So if you notice, I'm currently using Google Colab, which is free. And the dataset is basically from Kaggle, which is a script dataset. Okay, let me load the dataset first. So I'm going to use Panda read. So to load the dataset, let me get the link. Okay. Let it go through. Okay, what's the issue? Not found. Okay. That's unfortunate. Let me double check again. Oh, okay.
So let me jump in on this one, right? Just so that our
Yeah.
audience understand a little bit. And, these sort of things are very common, I think. And maybe you can help us explain like what's going on here, Subhash. Like when we see a HTTP error 404, right? What does that mean? Does it mean that
Uh,
the CSV file is not found from that URL that we're trying to pull the data set in?
yeah. So basically, what I've done is basically I just uploaded this data set to my GitHub,
Yep.
and yeah, it's getting this issue. So never mind, I have a backup here.
How
Yeah,
common is
I
this
have.
issues normally in when we pull in data sets into Google Colab,
Uh, how to say? This is like very rare to happen, but I'm
right?
not sure why this thing happens. Actually, when it comes to from GitHub, basically what I've done is I uploaded this file yesterday itself, and then now
Mhm.
it's not. So let me fix
No
this.
problem at all, man. I think this is a good learning process for everyone who's watching as well, who's going to watch this as well. And then maybe later on we can go through like what are those libraries, what is pandas, what is matplotlib, just to
Yeah,
get a
yeah,
quick
can.
idea of what's going on here and to really understand like what goes on behind the scenes, right, of
Mm.
a data analysis project, right? We just run through us down and all that. So let's just give Subhash some time maybe to get in the data set and we can start doing some digging into this data
Yeah,
set.
yeah.
Yeah.
This one should work. Okay, let me double check again. Okay, there's an error reading from this, no issue. So there is no issue in this case here. So let me go back here. I'll upload a new file. Since I'm using Google Colab, so I already have the copy of the data set, so no issue in this. Let me double check. Okay, that's perfect.
Right, and then the nice thing about Python, I think, is that you can, even if you don't know coding like me, right, you can look at the data set there, and you can not you can see that the in plain English, what's the error, right? So like even if I'm reading here, I see, oh, there's a HTTP error for means maybe the Python wasn't able to actually take in the data from that link, that URL. So it's so easy to read, and even non-coders can see how easy to read. Is that right, Subhash?
Yeah. But basically, this is a request error, so I think let me connect to my library first. So, okay, connect to Google Drive because I do have a backup just in case all this thing
Always have
happens.
backup.
Yeah. So, usually this is not a common problem.
Okay.
What happens usually I'll just upload all my data set to GitHub. So I'll just pull the link so that I can actually read the data set from the link GitHub raw file. Uh, Apparently it is, let me check. Okay. Copy path. I think now it should work. Okay, perfect.
There
It's
we go.
okay.
There we go.
Good, awesome. Done. It is working now.
Right.
So before we start, I just wanna since already this thing works now currently. So I think the link error is due to GitHub. I need to double check why is that it works and then it doesn't work suddenly. Okay, so what is Pandas? So Pandas, if you think about it, is more like, okay, if you have used Excel, you have known that we can actually do a lot of when you dump in any Excel file or CSV file or TSV files or any types of files, you can see it in a very tabular form, right? So the Pandas is basically something similar to Excel when you see it in tabular form. Let me show you what I mean by that. So what I've done is basically I've imported the data and then I'm using this pandas function, which is read CSV. So it will read that file and then it will save it as a DF, which is the shortcut. So you can actually write it anything you want. But as for me, I just like to prefer DF because it's easier to type instead of writing a long variable name. And I'm going to use a function known as head, which is it's going to read first five rows of the data itself. So this is the first five rows. Now, by looking at the data itself, we can, hold on. Okay. Okay, so by looking at the row itself, this overall view of the data set, we can actually see that we have, regardless of how many columns, so this df dot h head basically shows only the five. By default, it shows only five rows, so we can see clearly what can say. So we have a couple of columns here. So first column with the show ID, how many seasons are there, and all those things. Yeah, I think this is more show ID, and then we have type of the shows. Is it like a TV or movie, or it can be any type of type? And then we have title. And this title here is basically in numbers. So I think, yeah, we can later look into it later. And we have director's name, we have cast, and then we have country, we have date added into the Netflix, and then when it was released and all those things. And then what's the duration of the movie or shows or whatever it is. And then we have description and genre. So it's pretty simple data set because we don't want to overwhelm the viewers to, why is it so complex? No, you want to get comfortable with the data first, so it's easier to look into it. And but even though it looks simple, we can actually get a lot of information out of it. So you only look at the first five, right? Might as well we just look into the first last five data. So how do we look into the last five data? Is basically DF tail. So we have eight head and tail. So when we do DF tail, we can look at the last five data, and here you can see clearly. We have movies, we have title of the movies, and we have directors. Same concept. It's just the first five and the last five. So what I usually like to do is basically I want to look at the uh, information of the data, the overall data set. So I want to know for each column here, is all the columns in strings objects? Is the columns are in numbers or integers, all those things. So you want to get a very quick overview of the data set itself. So what I'll do is, hold on, this is not the one. Okay. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just go to df info. So if this info here will give an information of the data set itself. So if you look at it, yes, it will tell you that we have around 7,787. And if you notice, it starts already with zero. So our in programming, basically starts from zero. So our data set starts from zero up to 7786 in this case here. And we have all total of 11 columns. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 columns altogether, including genre, which is the last one. And you can see all the column names here. And then we have all the information, which is no null count. What is no null count in this case here? It's talking about how many non-values, missing values are there in our data set. So based out of 7786, we can see there are a few missing over here. So these are things. And then after that, we can look at our data type, what kind of data type. So in here, if you notice, it says object. Object are basically strings like text data. So we can look at show ID. This is basically text data. Movie up to date added is basically not all text data. So the next one will be release year and duration, which is in integer, which is good for us. We don't have to do any changes there. And we have just the amount of data that's here is just nice. And then we have description and genre, which is always also in string. So this is a high overview of our data. And then we can look at our integer types, how many summary of the integer types. So we have two integer columns, data type. We have 9 object, and then it will tell you the memory usage of this data when it's loaded. Okay, so this is the idea that we get, overall information. So we have a good information about our data set. And what we're going to do is now is we're going to look at first step. So when we look at the loading data set, we already know the first 5, the last 5, what is expected to be in the data set and how the data set looks like. And this will give us the high summary of high overview of what is the data is all about. So which is good. Now, since we really have once we have noted all this information, then I realize there's a lot of missing value here. So might as well just start with cleaning itself. So we're gonna clean the data. So before we clean the data, we don't know how many missing values are there in the overall data set itself. So let's look into it now. So let me see. The app is now. So this one will check all the null values, but it will return in all Boolean, which we do not want this because it's really hard to us to see. So we're going to sum all of this and it will just return us the empty values over here. It will return us all the empty values here.
Okay, so let me
Okay,
just stop you there quickly, and just do some recap of what we've learned so far, right? Now, we see that we have 7,787 entries, right? In terms of doing data analysis, is that a huge number or is that something very common normally?
Okay, usually if you're doing data analysis, we always look at the threshold. So if it's more than 50%, it's not advisable to drop the data. So in this case here, it's not much. So I'm not going to do a lot of different changing. It's just that instead of dropping all of it, I would just fill in all these missing values for directors in this case here to something which is easier unknown, because we do not want to drop the precious data here. And in data analytics, yes, it depends on how large is the data. So if you look at 7,000 plus, and then it's not actually more than 50%. So it is we can actually drop them as well. It's just that in this case, I just don't want to drop any of the data set. Usually we'll just look at the threshold. If it's more than 50%, we need to do something with the data. If it's less than 30 and below that, yeah, I think we can actually safely can drop the data because we're not going to make any changes. But it also depends on how the different columns in the data set actually how many null values it contains. Does it affect our data? When we look at it in the first class, we need to know, okay, oh, so the range here is quite high. So can it affect our data? So let's look into this here to answer your question here. So when you look at this particular data set here, we have a couple of we have how to say country, and we have cast, and then we have director. So when I look into this, right, I don't think it's going to affect a lot of it because our data set is looking at how the content evolves over the year. So that's our overall objective in a way. So as we go on, we can understand this. But I won't be categorizing the directors wise or country. Yes, I would categorize everything by country wise. So for that, instead of dropping all these 507 countries, I might as well just include that uh into like maybe unknown, because even though for example, the country might be missing, but every other information will be still there. So it's not fair to drop just because the country is missing, to drop all this information in the other columns. It's not right. So I'm just trying to not lose as much as data as possible, at the same time keeping the data so that I can actually analyze what it can actually provide me. So it's mainly looking at how do you think the data will be useful for you. So if you think you're going to drop some of the things, you can drop, no problem. If there's a lot of missing value for that particular column which you're not going to do anything with, I think you can actually drop it. So the threshold is always there for us to check. I
All
hope
right.
that
So
answers the
what we
question.
have just done in recap was we loaded some libraries, right? And then we imported a data set, and then we explored it, and now
Yeah,
we are going to do some data cleaning.
yeah,
And yeah, so let's continue from here and see what goes on happens.
sure. Okay, so now we know checked all the data sets, but there are data set already here. What's the next thing I want to do is basically, I'm not going to clean everything one shot. So I just want to look at all the information here. So let's see, type. Okay, so I'm going to go into a few things. I'm going to check, this one, close. Okay, so I'm going to check on few unique values because I want to identify all this uh, inconsistencies in certain columns lah, if it's not consistent or not. So all these things. So I want to try look into type. Type is basically follow the movie one. So just nice. It just gives me this one. I can have a lot. So what I'm going to do is basically I'm looking for all the unique values. So this is the unique value. So I'm going to save this as unique type. Okay, so unique values, unique types. Let me copy this, paste it here. Okay. So now, basically, for in our data set, we can understand that we have two unique values for the particular column type, which is TV show and movie. So basically, there's nothing else except for TV show and movie, which is good for us. So now, we know that we only have TV shows and movies. There's no documentaries. There's nothing else. So which is good. So this gives us like overall understanding of what are the main two things or the unique values in our column in this particular type. That column is off. So the next one I'll be looking at the let's see, countries. I think I'll look at countries as well. So DF country. So I'm gonna look at the unique value, and I wanna say unique countries. Just copy paste. Okay. Okay. Oh wow, that's good. Okay, so we have got a lot of countries here. But let me see. As you can see earlier, we have country missing values. I think I just saw it earlier. Supposed to be NAN some. Oh yeah. So yeah, this actually is the missing value here. If you look at it, there's 507. So there are 507 countries with there's no value in it. There's no country name in it. It's just missing. So what I want to do is I will just look for the length of all the countries. How many countries are there altogether? So look into the countries. How many total countries we have? We have a total of 82 countries altogether. So in this data set, we have total of 82 countries, and then we have around then we have one, which is out of 82, there's one, basically a unique value of NaN, which is going to change. Like that's a missing value, basically. Now let's look into other thing. These are the unique values that we're going to check into to get an idea of what are the information that we can find. So I'm going to use the same thing here, but I'm going to copy this. This time I'm going to look into the genres, genre type, and I'm just going to rename this to genre. Okay. Not property. Okay. Okay, good. So we have quite a lot of genres here. As we know earlier, we do not have any missing genres. Yeah, we do not have any missing genres. So yeah. And then let's look at how many total genres we have. Maybe I'll create one over here, length of genre types. So we have total of 35 genres altogether. So we have one which is uncategorized, which is not categorized into any of this. So we have quite a lot of genres here, which is really good. Okay, so we got all the information about this. So why we are using unique values is so that we can understand the data better. We can see how many unique values in each of these columns that we're going to have to look into. So earlier for the unique types of movie, we know we have two, which is TV show and movie, which is that's good. And then countries, we have 82 countries altogether. And then over here, we have around 35 genres now altogether in this data set. So this gives you a good idea of how the data will actually range. Now, so let's go into the next part, basically, where we will be cleaning the data. So earlier, when I was telling you guys that we're going to focus on this country and also country and director, correct? Sorry, country, cast, and also director. So these are the things I'm going to, how to say, these are two things that I'm going to actually clean. So what I'm going to do is instead of like dropping the whole data or removing the whole data, I'm not going to do that because I still want to keep intact of the other columns that contains within the range. So because if I remove director, the overall data size will actually change. It can be lesser. So I don't want to take that. I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually uh, uh, impute the data by filling in all the missing values at the end into something that is easier, which is unknown. So let me show you guys that now. So this is how we actually handle the missing data. We're going to fill all the missing data for director, cast, and also what is it? Director, cast, and also country with the word unknown. So let's do it. So df fill null. So this basically fills all the null values. So if you look it, it will actually fill all the null values. So I'm going to I'm going to create a dictionary here. So I'm going to see director. Okay, so everything is lowercase, just nice, director. So I'm gonna, for all the columns in director, I'm going to fill in everything with the word unknown. So instead of none, we have something which is unknown, so it's easier for us to categorize. Next will be cast. Same thing. I'm going to do the same thing for that. Let me copy this. Okay, so cast. Okay, good. Cast is unknown, and then the last one will be our country. Okay, so director, cast, unknown, everything is done. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make those changes within the data frame without saving it into a new data frame. So I'm gonna do in place true. This one in place true means it will make the changes directly to the data frame without us saving the value into a new variable. So okay, so done, so done. So basically, this is where after I completed this. So let's move on to the next one. Later, I'll show you the overall thingy, and let's look into the date added. So date added is basically an object. Okay, for date added, since it's only 10, okay, I would say that I will drop this because it's only 10, so it's not going to be uh how to say, you're gonna not gonna affect the data a lot. So I'm gonna sorry df dot drop and a, which means I'm gonna drop that overall thing, and I'm gonna subset this data to date added. So let me see date added. Okay, let's copy this. So date added. So what I'm doing is I'm dropping. So earlier I didn't drop because the data set is quite high. The number of missing value is quite high. So I just imputed everything else except for date added. It's just only 10, so I'm just gonna remove that. So I'm gonna do the imputation in place true as well. So done. I'm dropping the data in place true. So perfect. So what I'm gonna do now is let me check. Okay, so we have done three things here. We have two things here. We actually filled in all the missing value for director, cast, and country with the missing value of unknown, replacing all the nine values. And then the second one is basically dropping date added because it's only 10. So now let's check on our data. It's an A dot, oh, sorry. Okay. Oh, our data set is clean now in a way, but let's do make a comparison of the shape of the data. So let's see the shape of the data. Do we have 7,077,777? So earlier, if you look into it, we have around 7,786. So the trade-off is not that bad. It's just nice. I think around 11, 11 rows are missing, which is just nice. I think it's pretty good because we still have almost like 90+% of the data here, which is good. Okay, perfect. So this is how we actually look into the data. It's basically like different data set has different threshold of how much, what do you want to do with the data? Do you want to drop them or you want to include them? So there's a lot of ways. So it's all based on the data set itself. So for this data set, this is the I think the easiest approach that I would take into. Okay, now so we are done with this cleaning part, and there are still there. There's quite a few more steps there. Let's look into our date edit. So our date edit here is basically an object. So when we go back over here, we can see our date edit is an object. So the object, so we do not want it to be an object. So we want to change it uh, to proper format. Don't want it to be in a string, you want to change it to a proper format. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the date time format. So using pandas. So pd dot, so I'm going to use to date time. Okay, hold on. Okay, so I'm going to pass that column, so which is the date time. So date edit, sorry, date edit. Copy this, I'm going to put it in here. So what it's trying to do is pandas will take this particular function where it will take this particular column and then change it to date time. Okay, format, the proper format basically. So I'm going to save this. Let me see. I'm going to save this to date edit. Okay. Okay, perfect. So now, since we already done that, let's look into our DF info. Okay, so we have a date time format now for our date. So which is just nice. So we have a really good the type here. So we already changed. So our show ID up to countries object, and then our date edit. Basically, date is basically date time, which is really good. And then release here is integer, duration is integer, description and genre is an object, which is really good. We already got all the information needed from this data. So our data set looks nice. So let's have a last overview of the data before we go on. Okay, released here. Okay, good. So this is basically in here. So previously was in object string, so we can't do much. This okay, just nice. This there, this here. Okay, so it's looking good now with our cleaning and everything. Now let's look into our EDA now. So we're gonna explore the data and see all the informations here. Now let's look into our data type. So let's look into our first thing that I'm gonna go into is I'm gonna look into our type here. So I wanna look into how many TV shows and how many movies are there in overall in our data set. And then after that, I'm gonna visualize it and then let's see together. So overall, so let's start with it first. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna write df type. So here I'm accessing a series. I'm getting all the series value of this particular column. I'm gonna do a value count of this particular column. Okay, so I'll be getting this particular thing. So now I have there are 5,377 movies in this data set and 2,400 TV shows. So what I'm gonna do is basically I'm gonna write it save it as content distribution. Okay. Just copy this. Okay, so I'm gonna visualize this. So this is basically, we can see in data frame, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to visualize this particular data here. So we can have a very good, how to say, when you want to show it, when you want to see it clearly with graph, it will be clearer picture instead of numbers, even though we can actually understand the overall thing here. So let's start with, let me check if I already imported the for yes. Yeah, perfect. I already imported that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually visualize this particular data here, the content distribution, using a bar graph, basically a count plot in a way. So let's start with SNS. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to start with studying style. So I have a really good style of the canvas, I would say. So I want it to be, I want to set the style of the canvas to be white, and then it should have a grid as well. So this is what I'm going to do. And then, no, hold on, SNS style. Oh yeah, missing here ish. Okay. Okay, good. So we won't show anything because I haven't done anything. So we just set up this first, white grid, white with some grid. And then let's do the distribution first. I want to do PLT, figure, the canvas size. And I want the figure size to be around 10.6 width and height. So it should work now. So it'll just give you the width and size of it. Good. Okay. Now, so what I'm going to do is basically I'm going to translate this information into a graph, into a count plot basically. So what I'm going to do is sns.count plot. So the best thing about Seaborn is Seaborn has this particular function where it actually does the count for you and then visualize it. So that's the best thing about thing. So I'm going to pass in the data. The data is df, our data frame. Now we're going to type in the type, and then of course, um, let's see. I want to add some color into it, so I'm going to add palette. So we'll see it's over here, palette. So okay, okay, perfect palette. So the palette I want to add is cool warm house. This is basically if you go to Seaborn side, you can actually see all the color palettes that are available. So this is my count plot. Let me show this first. Okay, perfect. So this is our size 10/6. And it looks nice, but there's a lot of things that we haven't added yet. So we have TV shows, movies, and everything. We have type and count and all those things, but we need a proper title, and then we need to properly label the X label and Y label. This is a default by default, but we need to change it accordingly. So we're going to use the matplotlib library PLT like what we did earlier. So PLT title, I'm going to write in title. So the title will be like distribution of content type. I think this will be the type on Netflix. Okay, this is will be one. The title will be suitable title. And then for the X label is type. So I'll just say content type, and then the count will be count in capital. So X label will be content type. lt.x label content type. Okay. And Y label. Double check why is this showing content label not distribution colon. Okay. Y label will be count in capital C. Okay, capitalize it. And then now I'm gonna say BLT show. Before that, BLT dot type layout. Okay. Okay, perfect. Passing panel with the huge replicator will be removed. Okay. This is basically a normal warning due to the usually if you use a Jupyter notebook and a Condas one, you'll see this as a read warning. So if that's the case, you don't have to worry because this might be because of the different version we are using. It's not upgrade version. Passing power with the passing assigning hues replicator will be no issue. So we're just gonna leave it as it is. So we already have the information for this. So here we have our distribution content type graph. where we have TV shows and movies, we have a clearer picture here. So good. So now we can see that, okay, from this data set, there are almost like 5,000 plus movies, which is in the calculation was 5377, and we have around 2,400 TV shows overall. Okay. Now, so the next thing that we're going to look at into is the let's see what's the next thing I'm going to look into. Okay, so let's analyze the content production over the years. So the type of the content by the year. So this is what we're gonna do now. So for that, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna group by. I'm gonna use group by dot group by. So what it does is basically it groups by all this release year to the same year, and then actually aggregates everything here, same type, all the rows together. So I'm gonna use release year. So let me see. I'm gonna do both. So I'm gonna pass in a list here, release here, and then over here will be my type. Okay, so what I'm gonna do with this is I'm gonna look into the size. I want to look into the size of it. Okay, so let me run this quickly. Okay, good. So we have, okay, so from here, just by this, we can see that, okay, there's a particular TV show, one TV show from 1925, which is released from this particular year. And in certain years, we have these movies. And okay, so we have a good idea of it. But this is not good enough because we want to unstack it. So let's unstack this and then we can get a better understanding of the data. Perfect. So now we have a release here, the type of movie and a TV show here, but I want to make some changes. I want to fill all the empty one with 0. Okay. Okay, so in what is this particular data showing is basically on this particular year, there's zero movie was released as just TV show, which means we have this content in the Netflix. So as the number increases, you can see there the number of contents that are available in Netflix in this particular data set here. So I want to save this as a production year distribution variable. So production year distribution. Okay. So perfect. Okay, just nice. Now, we already have the data set, so we can get an idea of how it is. But let's look into the tail, which means the latest one. Okay, so from here, we can see that from 2017 to 2021, the TV show type of TV shows and all these things. Let's analyze from this particular year, which is the year that I think will be best because I think earlier look into my head first 10 of it. These are all 1950s and all those things. Let's see till I just want to take like maybe 10. Okay, so we can get a good by looking at this the 10 years, the past 10 years or yeah, from 2012 to 2021, we can see the number of the movie and TV show which was available in Netflix, and we can see that the content type from here we can analyze that the TV show is increasing, and then in the year 2020 was the highest, and after that it dropped to 2021. And then movie, same goes to movie. It was highest in 2016, and it was highest in 2018. After that, it dropped, and then it's in 2021. It's 12 and 19. So there are a lot of things that we could think about. So maybe during these 2 years, the drop might be caused by during the 21. So this is during this time, maybe pandemic was the main reason because there's not much of production of those things. And then we can also think about maybe there's a lot of original contents produced by Netflix. So maybe this time there were a lot of original contents produced by Netflix. These are the things that we can actually make, we can actually insights or somewhat we can get, okay? So up to this done. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna look into the next thing, the next information. So this is good. So we already know for each year which one has the most movies, which one has the most TV shows, and all these things. And you can see the changes in the production of TV movies, production of the movies and TV shows in from 2012 to 2021. Yes. Now let's look into here. I think let's look into countries now. Which country has the most production or something similar to that? Let's look into it now. So I'm going to look into country, DF country. I'm going to access all the string because we are looking into objects. I'm going to access all this by string, str. And then I'm going to split all of the data. I'm going to save it comma, space, and now I'm going to, let me see, next, the data. And then I want to do a value count, quick value count of the data. Okay, and then let's see. Okay, good. So we have what I've done is basically we split out the movies and then we export the data, and then after that we have value count. So what will happen? Let me show you what happened without the okay explode. We'll have something similar to this. So we have all the countries split together, and then we can see overall view. But we do not want to. We can't do much with this, so we need to do value counts, like I was saying earlier. So value counts will actually help us to see the overall information about movie. So from here, roughly we can see that US actually produced the most content in Netflix, and then the last 5 year Zimbabwe to Somalia was each one. So we can get a good idea of what's the movie about. What's the how to say which country produces the most content on Netflix? Okay, so we're gonna save this as country distribution. Okay, so let's visualize. I think let's visualize this country distribution to get a better understanding of it. So, okay, let's do it now. So same thing, plt.figure. I'm gonna create our canvas and size. I think 12:8 would be just nice. Or if it's too small, we can adjust it accordingly. So I'm gonna use Seaborn, but this time I'm gonna use bar plot. Bar plot. Okay, so I'm gonna add Y as my country distribution, which I've saved earlier. So this will be my country distribution, and my X will be my Okay, so what I will do here is basically I'll be getting this country here, and for my X values, I'll be focusing on the values over here. So before I go through that, I can show you. So I want to access the values. So I just type in values. I'll be getting all the numbers, which means the values over here. Because that's what I'm going to do here. So I just copy this. I'm going to paste it over here. So we are done. And then I'm going to add a palette. So I don't know. Okay, palette. So let's say I want a different color palette this time. Now plt.title. What would be the suitable title? We want to look at top 10 countries. We're not going to look at all the data. We just want to look at top 10 countries, the most producing, the country with the most Netflix content produced. Basically, that's the one. So maybe top 10 countries producing the most Netflix contents. Content, okay. So we have PLD, let me check, X label, our label will be our number of titles, number of titles, and our Y label in this case will be countries. Show. Okay, let me see if it works. So it looks, if it's too, I don't think it's gonna be too big. Oh, okay. So it is okay. No issue. New titles. I think that's an issue with the let me see.
Okay,
Okay, I
so
think I'll
what
leave.
are we seeing here so far? We've
Okay,
gone through a lot of
so
analysis, but yeah.
yeah, so I think I missed out something important. Oh yeah, so by right it's supposed to be where okay, I think I know. Oh yeah, because we are using series, so I think I missed out the index here. Okay, it should show the country name and okay. So the problem now is basically it shows up all the countries, which is not what we wanted here. So I want to change this to let me see. I want to change the top 10 only. So basically, I'm going to change it to yes. I need to change it over here to 10. Okay, and now okay, perfect. So what happened earlier was I because earlier when I was explaining, I didn't look at the top 10 countries. I was just looking overall, so I just missed out that part. But looking at the graph now with the top 10 countries, because we are focusing on top 10 countries. So now from here, we can understand, we can see clearly United States is the first, India next, then UK, and then basically, okay, let me check. This is unknown. And is when I was changing these are things, yeah, this is unknown. Okay. Okay, yeah, perfect. So these are basically all the countries, and there are specific value here, which is from an unknown country, which we do not know where is it from. So that basically because we were filling around 500 plus column rows of null value with unknown, so it shows up here. So, but here it gives you a pretty good idea of which is the most. So yeah, and this is not something that we prefer, but as for this analysis, it's a simple analysis. Yeah, there's like a few around 500 number of titles from I think maybe various countries which we do not know. So that's why we put it as unknown. So that's good. And we have Mexico, and oh, that's really good. Because if you include all the other countries, what will happen is the graph will be something similar to what we saw earlier. So this gives us a very good idea of the size of the country. And then also I can copy the same thing. I can go over here, and what can I do is I'm gonna change this to bottom 10 and index. Let me see. I'm gonna do. Let's look. Okay, I'm gonna take this over here. What I'm trying to do is I'm just creating. Okay, so I'm gonna put tail. So let's look at the bottom. So country distribution bottom. Okay, I just made some changes on it. So bottom index and also bottom values, bottom, okay. Perfect. So when I run this, oh, I will not show this because we haven't defined it. So we need to run this first. Okay, and then it will show you this graph here. So pretty much is very self-explanatory. So we do not want this graph, that's why I didn't include. But just to show you, we can do it as well. So these are all only one noise. So the main one that we're going to focus is just this. So from here, what we can understand is basically the most content produced country for Netflix is basically United States, for which means they have a lot of contents created. So this accumulated years lah, basically. And within that, I think within the top 10, Mexico is basically under the 10th spot. Lah. So this is basically our analysis that we can get. Okay. Now, let's look into another type. We already have our country-wise, we have our type, and what was it? The thing that we did earlier. Mm, okay, the type. Okay, good. So let's focus on maybe mm, distribution of genres, because we have different genres, right? So earlier we did look at the genres. So genre dot unique. So we have quite a lot of genres here. We're gonna look at their distribution. So which genre has the most is the most I would say uh, the most produced genre type of TV shows or movies based on it. So let's look into it. Let's start with DF genre. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a value count, and I'm going to count all the values for each of the genre, and then I'm going to, okay, let's show this first. So we have all of it, so which is good. Now, over here, we can see that dramas is the most. Second will be coming up. Second is comedies. Third will be documentaries. Then action. Then international TV, children, and so on and so forth. And the last will be basically sports movie, sci-fi TV, and pride movies. So basically, so they're quite a lot. And then we have one which is uncategorized, which is not falling into any of the categories. And is there anything else? Yeah. So TV dramas and TV comedies is thing totally different from dramas and comedies. More probably it is focusing on movie. So I think more okay, based on this, I think it's most probably movie comedies and movie dramas, and they're separated. Okay, let's plot this. Let's plot this. Something that we did earlier, similar. Okay. But I want to plot the top 10 only. So I'm just gonna go ahead and 10. So I'm gonna save this as our just want 10 here. Okay, 10 genre distribution. Okay, so, okay, genre distribution. Short the name. Okay, good. Okay, good. So we only get the top 10. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna visualize this. This is the same concept what we did earlier. PLT figure. So fixed size. I think this time I want to do slightly bigger, 12.8, I think. 12.8. Okay, so SNS dot bar plot. I'm gonna take my Y genre. I think I'll just add D here. It's not that okay. Yeah, okay. Okay, DIST. And I'm gonna take the same thing, index, and then I'm gonna take the X value, which is genre list. This will be my values, like what I showed you earlier. Okay, let's try with anything first, and then I'm gonna type in the PLT title. So let's see first before we add in all the informations. Run first. Okay. Oh, okay. The color is too blue. Okay, let me change it. Okay, let's see. I think I'll just use a different palette this time. Let's see what like more. Okay, I think it should be nice. Beautiful, right? Okay. So okay, this looks nice compared to the earlier one. Okay. So okay, we have a good visualization of our data here. So we can clearly see our top 10 is basically dramas. I think most probably movies, documentary, action, international TV, children, crime TV, kids, stand-up, and horror movies. I'm a horror movie fan. I'm actually quite disappointed. It's only not more than, it's not in the top five, basically. Okay, never mind. Let's go into PLT title. Okay, yeah, PLT title. So what would be suitable for this? Let me see. Okay, top 10 genres on Netflix. Okay. PLT X label will be my number of title. And then PLT Y label will be my genre. And then PLT issue. Okay. So good. Okay. So if good graph is clear, so we can see the number of production within the rate. This let me double check what year was it again. 2021. So from up to 2021. So we can see the drama is the most produced content. I would say genre type of TV shows for the I think the most produced movies. Comedies is the next, documentaries, and action, which is good. There's a good mix up here. And horror movie is at the bottom, which is the 10th place. Good. Okay, so we got a good analysis on this already. So now, let's see if I think, hold on, no? I think there's one analysis that I have done earlier, which is, yeah, this is basically our in-depth analysis I done earlier, but it's okay. So I'm gonna look at the head first for this. Okay, this will be why. Okay, never mind. Let me go file, view, insert in time. Okay, restart session and run all. Before that, let me go back here and close this all. So let me restart and run all first.
So what happens when you restart and run all? Does it go
Okay,
like
usually what we'll do is it will just restart the kernel and then it will run all the cells again. So usually sometimes it will not sometimes I think you see we have this, oh sorry, it's not supposed to be 0, it's supposed to be 10, at least 10. Okay, so what I've done here is basically I just rerun everything. Why would we use this usually? But this is not the real issue why I used it. But usually when, for example, if when you're writing a variable, when you're running and it just doesn't want to update the value or something like that. So then I'll just restart the kernel or just stop or run the kernel again to fix the problem. Or usually when you write a quite long line of code and then it just didn't want to output once you checked everything, I'll just restart because sometimes restarting will just give you a fresh, clean memory and then will just restart everything again and gives you a proper output. So this really happens in my class with the students because students they tend to use different libraries and all those things. So that might affect also. So I would highly suggest them if your code is the same but it doesn't want to output what exactly you want. I think it's because of some memory problem. Just start the kernel and run, and it should be fine. It's like something similar like what we'll do in our computers when it just hangs or everything, we just restart. So something similar to that, same concept. So by right, this is supposed to be in our in-depth analysis, but it's a good thing because we're gonna visualize this. We already done this earlier. So this is basically looking at in each which all the years, all the year. Basically, we are looking at how many movies and how many TV shows are in our in the Netflix data set, which is from that particular year. So giving the head here, so let me, for the head here, so I'll just copy and give you tails. I'll just give you a comparison. And then I'll go tail. We're going to look at the latest one. You can actually sort it, but it's okay. Okay, so from here we can see the number of TV shows and also movies. Actually, not much of content available. I think due to not many people are wanting to watch old movies and all those things. That's because a lot of shows are basically targeted to a lot of teenagers Yeah, so it is more suitable for them. So I think their viewership is more to that. And when you compare to this here, you can see that a lot of movies and a lot of TV shows is produced, which I already reiterated earlier in the beginning. So the content of the movie and also the type of content or the type they will be releasing, it depends on a lot of factors. So one, I think most probably in this particular year, 2018, we can see okay, there was I think 2017 there was a lot of movie produced released in 2017 on Netflix, and because during this time I think a lot of original content started to come out. Basically, with competition between Apple, I think uh, various different types of Hulu. I think they have different type of streaming uh, companies, and then they have their own original there's a competition in coming out with their own original then uh, contents, and then on top of that the all the basically they're submitting to like Golden Globes and all those things, a lot of awards. So by looking at it, it's like instead of like just putting in something that's created and then just re-releasing it in Netflix, I think they started to create a lot of new original shows, which is really good. And we can actually it actually helps a lot of new directors and all those things in this case. So we can actually come out with that particular part. And then the drop here, this particular tool might be because of uh, uh, I think COVID. COVID might be one of the reasons why it's dropped because not a lot of movie able to be directed during the COVID lockdown and all those things. And TV shows actually was quite high during this time. I think it's most probably a lot of TV shows are being pre-recorded earlier and then just released later on. So all these things, and some of it are basically, if you notice at the trend itself, right, a lot of TV shows or movies are basically in a closed location, which is a control location. So these are basically a lot of information that we can come out with looking at the idea. So with the data that we know, with our real life data like COVID, and then type of content that is released. If it's horror movies, and if it's, for example, if it's during October, you can see a lot of horror movies coming out. During February, you can see a lot of romance coming out. And during some of the lowest, like that's not off-season time, that you can see a lot of comedies or action movies coming out. Summer will be where a lot of action movies coming out, a lot of high-budget production TV shows or movies that will be coming out. So this you can look into it in that point of view, basically. So what I'm gonna do is I'm basically gonna okay, let me see. Okay, this is restart data type DT here. Okay, I'm gonna modify this. I'm gonna look into yearly wise. So let's look at the release year. This is release year, but I want to look into, let's see what's the next one. Date added. I want to see which content was added on Netflix and which year, so we can get a better understanding of the data itself. The release year is not as important. I would say it's important. It's like it gives us a good idea of what kind of movies it. But we want to look at to for each year how many movies were added into it. So that's the one we're gonna look into. So let's start with that. Okay, so I'm gonna use the same type of code here. So they have group by. And let's see, DF, I want to look into date added. Uh, date added, and then I want to convert the date added to year only. I don't want anything else. dt.year, this will extract only the year from using the datetime libraries from the date itself. And then after that, I want to group by type so we can get an idea of it. And then after that, let me see. I think let's see. Okay, let me try and see first. Okay, and date added. Okay, so I need to add it as a data frame here. Hold on. We change this a bit. Okay, DT. List object, okay, okay, let me double check DT. List object doesn't have DT. And okay, if that's okay, let me go to data frame. Okay, perfect. So basically I'm accessing the data frame and I'm accessing the type also, perfect. So what I'm going to do now is basically I'm going to look for the size. I'm sorry, it's not supposed to be zero. Okay. So this is what we get exactly, but this is not released here, but this is date added. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the same thing. I'm going to stack the, the thing. Oh, why is it zero? It's always added. Okay. Unstack. Okay, we got it. And then I'm going to fill in all this non value with zero. So we do not want that. Okay. So we have perfect. Okay, that's nice. So I'm gonna save this as basically yearly content added yearly, content added yearly. So this is what I'll do, content added yearly. So let's look into the data. So the date added, if you look into this particular date here, uh, the type of TV shows, I think for the year 2018 onwards, quite increase of TV or movies, increase of TV show, what as I told you earlier, original contents and all these sort of things. And this was the most contents really released. And then 2021, there was very less drop. So this is purely, I think, most probably because of the pandemic. During the pandemic season, lockdown, all these things, there's nothing much can be produced. So that was really less number of show for that particular. This is per year. So if you look at it, like just 2020 itself, you have around 1,312 movies on Netflix, and then around 697 TV shows. And suddenly it just dropped massively to 88 for the movie and 29 for TV shows. So this is the analysis you can get. You can understand what's happening here. Now let's visualize this. PLT dot figure fixed size. Let's just maybe 12.6. PLT dot no, the content. Excuse me. I'm just gonna add this. Gonna content dot plot survey. So I'm gonna plot using matplotlib or pandas built-in one. So I'm gonna say kind bar. And so let me add this first. Later I'll show you why I choose it. Okay, let me show this first. PLT dot show. Then I'll show everything. Okay, so let me see. I do not want bar. Let me change it to line. I think that would be useful for me in this case. Perfect. So this, I think I'll make it slightly bigger. I think maybe 14, 7. Okay, I think it's good. I should just increase it further. Maybe 18, and then I'll just increase it to 14. Okay, never mind. Okay, so what we are noticing here is the increase. So basically, this is the drop that we saw earlier from the data set itself. Now we can actually add more info here. So what kind of info I want to add? Okay, okay, I want to add marker for it. So marker. So this will return marker for each of the points. So if you look into it, yes, it gives you a perfect thing, just nice. And then after that, I'm just gonna add all the titles and all those things that we've been adding earlier. So trends in terms of new, I think it won't be addition as well. Addition, I think this will be addition of new contents. To Netflix over time. I think this would be just nice. And then the label basically will be our year. And then our Y label here will be our number of titles added. number of titles added. Okay, and then I'm gonna add. Should I add the legend? I think the legend's already available, so no issue. PLT. I think that's perfect. And PLT dot type layout. Okay, so we have which is okay, settle. So we have a trends of addition of new contents over Netflix over the years. So whatever we saw here, we actually got this. So it's a better understanding of how the trend changes over the year, how many contents were added. So over the year, so over time, so from 2008 to 2020. So this is one of the things we can get. And let's look into uh, let's look at the analysis on the duration itself. So we're gonna focus on the analysis on the duration where we go into DF type. So what I'm gonna go into is basically I'm gonna check for the duration of the movies. Okay, what will be the duration of the movies? This is basically using some analysis, and I'm gonna so assuming that I wanna add posts now. So let me see, I wanna add two things. We say it one by one first. So what I'm trying to do is basically I'm looking for the movie duration. So I'm gonna actually look for all the information on this. So movie duration. I'll just save as movie duration. Okay, so this is our movie duration. So what I'm gonna do is basically I'm gonna find the describe. Describe is basically more like a descriptive analysis of this particular thing. It's like summary statistics in a way. So it gives you a summary of all the information, which means out of you have 5,377, which you already know. And then let's look at our mean time is around mean duration. Average duration is around 9 minutes. And standard deviation is around 28. And the minimum will be 3. Okay. The maximum is 312 minutes. It's quite. So let me check, is it in minutes or is it in hours? Yeah, it is in minutes. So yeah, it is in minutes. Yeah. And I think there are a lot of short movies. So this gives you an example of what is the duration of overall things for the data. Now, let's look. Let's how to let's plot this and see what's the overall understanding. So once I think we are almost there already. So I'm gonna go to the figure. I'm gonna do the same thing. So fixed size. Uh, uh, 6. Okay, now I'm gonna do histoplot. Let's see his plot. I wanna put in movie duration. Movie durations and gonna be to 30 because the default is basically 10. So I'm gonna add also I'm gonna add color is blue. Okay, let's try that. And then let me run this first. Okay. So from here we can actually see how the data looks like basically for the duration wise. Okay, it is basically, if you notice, right, it is basically varies a lot, widely varies, but it falls in the category of 80 to 20 a lot. So within the 80 to 20 a lot, so which you can see here, 80 to 120 a lot. This is our average here. And then I would say the movie duration actually caters for a lot of viewers, depending. So that's one of the analysis things. So it's like Netflix trying to accommodate different viewers their preferences for movie length. And then at the same time, they're offering short movies and then also short films and a movie with longer narratives and all these things. So it's like very good, I'd say, really good. So let's just add more things here. I think we add more things here. So PLT dot let's look into our title. Title will be distribution of movie duration on Netflix. And PLT X label duration in minutes. Duration in minutes. And then PLT.y label will be frequency. And then PLT.show. Okay, so I think yeah. Okay, that's really good. Okay, now I think we can I think it pretty much summarized everything. So uh mm, let's look into this. Okay, so I would say safely that we can just conclude the overall analysis like where the content diversity wise, like the way that we can see that we have greater number of movies than show. We have greater number of movies than TV show. But I think the gap is actually narrowing as I think most importantly, if you look at the recent trends and everything, with the data itself, apart from the let's just don't look at this part here. Let's look at the part where it goes to up to 2018. So the content, even though the TV show is the most, there's an increase on TV show, there was the greater number of TV shows, but sorry, the movies, TV shows actually the number of TV shows have been increased, which means that there are a lot of TV shows are produced. It's a good thing. So basically, they're actually adapting to trends because I think this will taking into the account of the viewers' way of watching certain TV shows or movies because I think they tend to watch chunk by chunk instead of one sitting, and all those things. Or maybe people tend to watch more interest like in binge watch. There's a trend in there now currently. I think since last time. So all those things. So that's one content diversity. They increase TV show gradually, even though the movies are quite a lot, and then the production of the movies as well, where it went up. The production of the movies, if you notice, let's go back here, not this one. Yeah, okay, the content wise, so it was going up and then suddenly went down. Let me see, not this here, it was somewhere here. Yeah, this over here, production here. So this gives us a very good understanding of the data itself, basically, this thing. So I think they increased the content in production because of budget investment wise, and then after that, slowly they are shifting toward TV shows, and I think it's better to pivot to serialized content because eventually it will engage a lot of viewers in a longer period of time instead of movies. So that's the thing that you can see the trend going up. Because if movies you just watch it finish, then if it's a TV show, if you think about all the TV shows, notable TV shows you have watched, so most of the things that we watch is like mostly TV shows, like for example Stranger Things, Dark, and quite a lot of them. It's quite a lot of them. I cannot name one. It's quite a lot of them from different genres, and this tends to actually engage viewers over the longer periods of time. So they're looking at the global content strategy. So sorry, I won't say it's global content. They're looking at the production trends over time. That's the thing they're looking at. And the next one is basically content-wise country. The content, yeah, this year. So even though the first, I think these are the top 10, they produce a lot. And then I think giving opportunity to diversify their production to cater broad audience, because nowadays you can watch any shows from different languages and all these things. This gives people a different taste. Oh, this show from this country is really good, or this show from this country is really good. I like, for example, if you look at TV shows or movies from Japan or United States, I think not I won't say United States, but in general, from different countries, South Korea, Spain, Mexico, there are different type of shows, different type of movies. Tackling different type of genres, issues, and all those things, it gives a wider. So this is basically a global strategy, which means everyone have access to watch, so we can see which is slowly going up. And then let's look at the genre itself. Let's look at the genre. Okay, yeah, as you can see clearly here, genre is the most popular, the most prevalent genre in Netflix, because I think the next will be, as you see, comedies, documentaries. So this also, they actually make sure that it caters, um, it caters and it offers something to type of genre for people who likes to watch genre. For example, if for me, I like to watch a lot of horror movies, but yeah, there's not much of horror contents, but they are during the month of October. You can see a lot of horror movies coming out, shows, TV shows, a comedy, horror, maybe all these things. So you can see it actually depends on which one is the most popular. If the content, if for example, if suddenly that particular year genre comedy goes really well, and then everyone's making comedy, so you can see comedy overtaking drama. So these are trends we actually see. So that's one of it. And then the content addition, as you can see here, adding content, this thing here, content addition. Uh, I would say that they're actually refreshing their libraries every year. So Netflix tends to update their libraries, update their content of movies. The content is actually changing according to trends. If you look at during the pandemic time, you'll see a lot of shows or TV shows based on slightly based on pandemic, not much, but it's big. And then after that, and then before that, and then you can see a lot of after that, a lot of travel about shows, movie, maybe travel and everything. During the pandemic, you can see a lot of shows about movies, food, cooking shows. All these are actually quite how to say famous during the time. You can see. So they actually follow the trend and see, looking at the trend, which one would be the best push, and then you can see that. So the trend will changes accordingly, so that it can provide a lot of new content for its viewers. And then movie direct, I think for this up to this point, duration is really varied in a way. So most of it actually falling, as I told you earlier, within 80%. So it falls within the 86 to 114, 120. So you can look at this 25 to 75 percentile. So over around here, 25 to 74 percentile here. So it falls within this category here. They try to accommodate a lot of different viewers, their preferences for movie length. And as what I said earlier, they're able to offer short films, they're able to provide longer narratives. So it actually caters for different types of audiences. So now, as you can see, right, this basically overview of what we can see here is uh, it's basically an evolving strategy by Netflix. So they want to keep the pace with the viewers' preferences and also the industry trends. So these are two things I need to look into. So when they look at the trends and also preferences, they're able to come out, and then they can actually provide the shows or movies and produce them accordingly. So I think that's all for this. I think for this analysis, you actually found something meaningful, looking at the trend, things that they can actually get from the info data itself using Python, and also a few libraries to learn how to visualize them. I hope this gives you an idea of what is data analysis, what kind of information you can get from this. And yeah, I hope to see all of you in the next analysis. I pass the time to Ruben.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much. When can our audience get are they able to get a file to play around to see what you have done? What do they need to get started? Can you quickly share that, and I will see where
Okay,
the
yeah.
best way to put that, whether in the chats here or whether when I send it as a summary in our email newsletter. Yeah.
Okay, I will actually see what's the issue with my library. Then I'll send you the link for the dataset, the GitHub link. I'll send it there. As for the libraries, you don't have to worry about any of the libraries because Google Colab, it has all the libraries pre-installed. So you just need to import only the library. So just plug and it's type more or less like a plug and play, but you just set up and start analyzing on it. So I don't have to install anything. So as you know, Google Colab is free. Just if you have a Google account, you can just access Google Colab. And if you just pass in these libraries like pandas, matplotlib, seaborn. So pandas is basically for the tabulation, filtering, sorting, all those things. And matplotlib and seaborn is the one I use mostly for the visualization up to this point. And matplotlib is the one that we use as PLT. Seaborn is the SNS, the shortcut alias. So you can use this. The data set will be given as a link. I think I'll pass. Once the error is fixed, then I'll pass in. Or if not, I'll just is there any way to actually uh, provide the file without the just the file itself, Ruben?
Yeah, sure. So what we can do is we can put up like a subscription list here, like a button for you to subscribe to our newsletter and an
Mm,
automated email. I will create that and that will be sent to all the audiences here who was watching and you receive all the files and everything else from Subhash. So yeah.
yeah, yeah. So including this notebook here. So if you think you want to explore further, there's a lot of things you can do actually. So yeah, you can actually expand on what kind of analysis that you want to do. So my analysis point of view is more to the genre type, the movie release year, the type, and also the country. So you can actually explore on maybe the director. You can actually try on the type of the cast. So there's a lot of ways you can actually work on this data set. So there's not only one like what I showed you earlier. You can actually explore this on a different dimension as well. So I hope that it's really useful, and then I hope you guys learn something along the way. And yeah, so this particular Jupyter notebook also will be included together in the newsletter. Is it okay?
Yep, that sounds good. Okay.
Yeah. So that you can actually refer to it as well.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Subhash, for your time. And thank you for those of you who did tuning in and watching all this thing here. So till next time, we'll see you in upcoming live sessions and also workshops and events that we do. Stay subscribed. See you next time.
See you. Bye.
How's it? We are ended
Ah,
the
okay.